What's up, guys? Mike Penta here from the Mind Gym podcast, and today I have my guest, Christian Wolfgruber. And Christian, today, the reason why I brought Christian on, he's got some awesome things going on. Other than the beard and the spectacular hair that I'm very jealous of, he's a teacher, a father, and he's really, really, really big into challenges. He does a lot of, not the warrior races, the Spartan races. Yeah. He's been in the worlds for Spartan races, and he's all about, like, he works and helps develop kids into special, like, that are interested in, like, special operations, you would say, like, try to help them get into shape.
It's a recent thing, but I think just developing kids in general to do what they want to do, to be mentally focused and mentally tough enough to go after whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah. Now, what grade? That's awesome. What grade do you teach now?
So I teach 4th grade right now.
Okay, yeah, because you just said you were teaching 2nd grade. What's the thing about, like, 4th graders you see? So you get to see a whole development of kids all the way now, into working with adults as well. Because the young individuals you work with in the development program for like the special operations, they're what, teenagers now going into?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere from right around the age where they're able to enlist into like their mid to late 20s.
That's awesome. I mean, so that's the good thing, is you get to see a development of a young kid all the way through to working with individuals that are, in their 20s.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So so talk to me a little bit about your background as an athlete growing up. What kind of got you into the Spartan races and everything like that? So what was your athletic background?
Yeah, so as a kid, I tried everything.
Yep.
I played hockey, I played lacrosse, I played tennis, I played soccer, I swam, I skied, literally tried everything. And eventually just got to a point where swimming was something that I felt that I was good at.
Yep.
And thought I had some type of a future, at least would help me hopefully get into a good college. So I continued doing that. I played water polo in college. I swam in college. I played club lacrosse in college. And being an athlete my whole life, after college, there was just this void of, I just needed competition. I needed something else in my life to push me to, I guess, keep pushing myself physically and mentally, and the need to fill that void of not having that outlet, and just kind of looked at Spartan races as a potential challenge, something that I would have to work towards, and something that would be a little bit similar to swimming in the sense that it is a little bit of a grind to work. I do the beast races, which is anywhere from like 12 to 17 miles. So
yep.
Definitely more of a distance endurance kind of person. But just wanted some type of a goal to work towards and to work at each day. So
awesome. Now, when did you start doing those races?
Really just 2 years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how did talk to me about how that your training went in the beginning, what your expectations were in the beginning to what your expectations are now, because you had mentioned before, like, you changed up your training a little bit. So
yeah.
In the beginning, how were you training? Like, what was your goal? Like, the thing, what was the goal set in the beginning, and what's your goal now? And for each of those goals, like, what did you do to try to achieve those goals? And have you gotten smarter throughout the last 2 years of training for these things?
Oh, absolutely. I think I made a pretty common mistake, in the goal setting process, which was I used to set goals that I wanted to achieve, but I never really broke them down into how would I actually get there,
yep.
which leads you to be pretty unsuccessful with your goals.
Yeah, and that's I'll just pause you right there, because that's something that I talk about a lot. Goal setting, I talk about this mountain right? You're at the top. You put your goal. It's at the top of the mountain, and every time if you're standing at the bottom of that mountain looking up at that goal, it just looks so far away. Even if you make one little step closer to it, it's always looks so far away, right? So it's always about, like you said, you're missing the whole process in between that goal is setting some smaller goals so that every time you get to that smaller goal, you feel successful and you want to attain and achieve a little bit more each time instead of just constantly saying, finish the race. Now you're saying what?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I look back at even my swimming career, and I'd have times, swimming's very time oriented. And so I'd have a time I want to accomplish, but now that I look back at it now, I kind of want to go back to younger me and say, like, that's great, but how are you going to do that? Is it going to be your turns? Is it going to be your kicks off the wall? So initially when I started with Spartan, it was literally just a thing. I'd actually signed up for a Seal Fit 20X challenge.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it got canceled because there weren't enough people who wanted to do it at this particular venue. At that point, they kind of moved around the country and did it. Now they're more home base oriented, but it got canceled, and I felt like I'd put all this training into something, and it was no longer there. There was this void. So I said, all right, what can I put all this training towards? It can't go to waste. What am I going to do? And I just decided, you know what? There's a Spartan race. Let me give it a try. I've never done it. And for those of you guys who don't know about Spartan, there's, your sprint, which is like 3 to 5 miles. And you have your super, which is anywhere from like 8 to 10, kind of in that range. And then you have the beast, which is 12 plus, which it's been as long as 17 miles. For me, just kind of the kind of person I am, I was like, forget sprint, forget super. I'm going straight for the beast. I want to go for the whole thing, like right off the bat. Didn't really have any expectations, just kind of knew that I was an endurance athlete. Let's see what this whole thing is about. And kind of just like approached it, just head on, just went at it, just ran a lot, did a lot of training, but was not very focused with it, which kind of led me to be, it led me to be fairly successful. I mean, I finished 5th in my first ever Spartan race in the elites, which qualified me for the World Championships in Tahoe, which was awesome.
That's pretty successful.
but I learned a lot from that race. I learned a lot about the things that I wasn't good at, in terms of the different obstacles and different ways that I could train to be better at those. And I also learned from that I came out of that pretty beat up. I had some injuries. I wasn't able to run. I had to take kind of like a month off after that, which isn't ideal, certainly. So, that was an issue for me. So I kind of had to reevaluate my training and realize that just going as hard as I can for as long as I can is not the smartest way to do things. So kind of reevaluate. I looked at the obstacles I failed. I did research on what are the different ways I can train for those specific obstacles. Because there are certain obstacles that you don't have in your backyard. They don't have at your gym. So you have to figure out ways to get better at them. I got really focused with training for the things that I had failed and improving on those, and then just being smarter about my running and how much I run and how hard I'm going on each run so that it was more sustainable. And I found that running a little bit less and being more focused about when I ran hard ended up paying off big time.
Yeah.
No,
that's awesome. So you made it to Worlds. You finished 5th.
Fifth in my first race. Definitely not 5th at Worlds.
Okay, 5th in your first race. Now,
no.
How did you do it? How did you do at Worlds?
So going into Worlds, I kind of said, Is there
a lot of people? I mean, for people that I still am learning about Spartan as you're talking to me.
Absolutely.
I think that it's still relatively new. So kind of explain like that whole thing. I mean.
So Qualification Works is the top 5, they just changed it this year, and they've got this whole new fancy qualification system. But the last 2 years, it was if you finish top 5 in any elite heat of any race, you qualify for Worlds. Now, if somebody in that top 5 has already qualified, it rolls down.
Yeah.
So it opens it up for more people. So you do have to qualify. I want to say.
Are you allowed to, if you've qualified once before at another race? That's what you mean. It'll roll out. Do you have to qualify every year, or if you already made it? Okay.
Yeah, each year it's a new slate. So I had no idea going in the first year. I had no idea how many people were going to be there. I didn't know kind of, were there going to be a lot of people like me? Was it going to be more, kind of professional Spartan racers, because they're absolutely professionals. And I found, I kind of felt like hopefully I could be in the top 50%. I'm not, like you said before, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher. This isn't my number one thing.
Yeah,
it's important to me, but my first priorities are my family, and my students. So those are my two top priorities. This is third on the list. So, hopefully I could place in the top 50%. I fell just outside of that in the first race, but this year I went back and I was just inside that top 50%, which I was really happy about. So,
and that was in Tahoe again?
Yeah, in Tahoe again.
So how many people qualify for this thing?
So this year, I don't know how many qualified, but there were 280 or 290 men in the elite heat. And then there's also a women's elite heat, and then they have open heat. So, I mean, thousands of people ran over the weekend.
Yeah.
In the elite heat, it was 290 something like that.
Holy shit. I never could have even imagined. Yeah, that's a pretty impressive thing. So so talk to me about kind of where you're at with, like you had mentioned before, that you have to balance all this stuff out now.
Yeah.
That's not even that's third on your list of priorities.
Yeah.
But fitness is a pretty high priority of you, we talked about before, because you want to be able to maintain and be able to work, kind of play with your kids forever. I had mentioned that I do all this stuff because I want to be able to play with my kids, my grandkids. I don't ever want to have to deal with a situation where I'm kind of laid up on a couch for the rest of my life and just sedentary. But kind of how do you balance all that stuff? Because training for a distance type race, I remember my wife trained for marathons before we had kids, and it was pretty grueling. You're going out like you said, you were training sometimes 30, 40 miles a week. How do you balance that out? What do you do to set yourself up so that you can, okay, I've got a regular job, I've got a family, and then I need to work all this training in to make sure that I don't just go out there and just flub or be unsuccessful. To you, it wasn't just going out there and just competing in the race, but you wanted to actually do well. So how do you balance all that out?
Yeah, it's tough. And I think you definitely have to have a plan. And a lot of what I did was I found chunks of time during the day where I could do things. And one thing I've gotten really good at is just having an idea of how long things take.
Yep.
So if I know I have to get a 10-mile run in, I know that's going to take me anywhere from 70 to 80 minutes just running. Now, if I'm going to drive somewhere to go to trails to do that on trails, then I know exactly how much time that takes. And I can figure out exactly kind of how long that run is going to take. And I know exactly what time my daughter wakes up. So I just start counting back. So if she's going to be up at 7 and I need 2 hours to get this done, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm running so that I'm home. I'm back in the house when she wakes up. Or I know that she goes to bed at 7. I know there's a track 15 minutes from here that's sort of well lit, and I can do my running there. Just finding chunks of time that fit where I can fit it into my day, and knowing, okay, if I don't have time at the end of the day, then I'm going to have to get up early to do it. So it's just understanding what priorities I have throughout the day and where I can squeeze it in. And to me, it's, once I have a goal and once I have a plan, it's non-negotiable. It has to get done. When it gets done isn't as important to me. It becomes important in terms of figuring out where it's going to fall, but it doesn't matter. I could do it in the morning, I can do it at night. It just has to get done. And I guess that's kind of my mindset is, if that's the plan for the day, that's the plan for the day, and it gets done, whether that means you wake up early or you're up till midnight. Exactly.
I think that's one of the missing things that people have, when it comes to their own fitness or trying to get in. It's easy to make the excuse. I think they make the excuse because they don't have everything planned out for the day, or and I kind of got into this conversation with somebody before. They're like, "Oh, what if shit happens throughout your day?" Yeah, that's reality. But at the end of the day, if unless you're literally incapacitated, if you set yourself a goal, I think that people they're always set loose goals for themselves. They don't ever go into, I want to set this goal for myself and be like, okay, no matter what happens, like if I have to stay up later or get up earlier, I'm going to accomplish this goal. I like to tell people the best way to accomplish a fitness goal is to get it done early in the morning time, if you can, because for me, things start to happen throughout the day. Some things turn over and roll over. And do you really, at the end of the day, have that time to be able to put in at the end of the day to get these things done? But I think the missing link for a lot of people is once they set that goal for themselves for that day, is it's a loose goal for themselves. They don't say, I have to accomplish this goal. And I try to tell people all the time, when you're setting goals, it's set one as far as like your fitness and health is concerned. Don't go crazy trying to set all these things you want to get done throughout the day. Set something that you can absolutely accomplish, even if shit starts to hit the fan throughout the day. Okay, if I'm going to go for a mile run or 2 mile run, set that one little goal. Like I'm doing something now with, I'm into challenges, like individual challenges, things you literally roll out of bed and can do on your own. So for the next year with my gym, which I'm going to start posting out too, is literally I'm giving them a challenge for 30 days. Every month, a new challenge for every day. They could literally roll out of bed and do this challenge for maybe 10, 15 minutes every day. But it's something that they could say, okay, even if I didn't make it to the gym that day, I still got something I can set myself up and say, I'm going to get these 100 push-ups in today. And no matter where I am, I can do these 100 push-ups. If I have a lunch break at work, I can do these 100 push-ups. But I want people to understand that even you have to go into setting yourself up with a goal, like you said, and be determined that you are going to accomplish that. So in your mind, at the end of the day, you have going to accomplish that one goal that you set for yourself. I think that the reason why people fail with this stuff is because that's not a mindset that they have. They kind of, like I said, it's very loose. It's like, I want to go out for a run today, but to them, they're not like, their mind is not set on it that they're going to go for that run today. It's just something that they want to do. And then that turns over into like days and weeks and months, and then that's the whole fitness routine. And then it becomes like, okay, I've stopped working out for 3 months and now I'm out of shape and I have to try to figure this whole thing out again. Is like, you have to set that goal and say you're going to accomplish it. I think that's a huge mistake that people make, is their goals are too loose every day. They need to be more, I guess, they have to really want them every single day.
And I have to admit, listen, I'm human. I've failed. There have been days where I said I am getting 5 miles done today, and I didn't. And just like you said, we have families, things happen, we have jobs, things happen. But when there were times where I didn't get it in, I knew that had to get made up. It wasn't just gone. That day wasn't over. I knew that had to get made up somewhere. And part of my plan included rest and recovery days, because I know how important those are. So what ended up happening is that rest and recovery day I had now became that 5 miles. I had to plug it in somewhere else. It had to get done. So I think to expect yourself to be perfect every day is unrealistic. But understanding that you have, and the way I looked at it too, it wasn't that I had a rest and recovery day to play with. I didn't look at it that way. That was just my fail safe, was if I failed. I wanted to get it done, but again, life happens, things happen.
Yeah, I think I may have explained that a little.
I think you're right on. You need.
I think you always have to go in knowing that you're going to accomplish this goal. If you have something set for the day, no matter what it is, it's writing a paper, again, that's people. It doesn't matter what your goal is. Washing your fucking floor in your kitchen. If that's your goal for the day, just you go into it knowing that you have to do this. But the thing is with goals are, you kind of like, as you were explaining that, you got to have kind of a setup to get to that like longer term goal. Yeah, things are going to happen, but you can go kind of have a plan 2 or a plan 3 of how to still get the results the long-term results that you're trying to achieve through shorter goals. Like you said, you have these smaller goals of make sure these runs are done and everything, but that's not your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal was to get through this challenge. So, but you were set up to try to get yourself to do this every single day. Yep. And for you, it was like, okay, but within this, I still, even if I didn't get to that task priority today, I'm just going to push it to tomorrow and focus on getting that done tomorrow, because these are the smaller goals I need to have done to be able to achieve that long-term goal.
Absolutely. you chunk things. So you have your daily goal, then you have your weekly goal, and then you have your, sometimes it's a monthly goal, and sometimes it's, the weekly goal leads to your end goal, just depending on what that goal is. And I think it's confusing because I do think there's kind of two sides to it. You have to know where you fall on that work ethic
100%.
spectrum. If you're somebody who constantly starts something but never finishes, then you need to be of the mindset that this is my goal and I'm doing it, and you have to get it done that day. You can't let it go. But there are people who are so driven that they will never accept failure. And I think one of the things I try and teach my fourth graders is that failure is one of our greatest learning opportunities. We
Absolutely.
don't want to fail, but we all are going to fail at some point.
Absolutely, 100%.
And to be able to look at it and say, okay, why did I fail today? Like, why did I not get this done? And maybe it was that I should have just woken up earlier this morning and not relied on that after work, after bedtime time to get that run in. So it's always, you have to be, if you do end up failing, you have to be reflective about it and learn from it to progress. So,
Yeah, I think that kind of falls into the category of like setting attainable goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't set goals that are just so outlandish that you as an individual, you're just kind of reaching for them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Set something
absolutely.
that you can accomplish. Like you said, again, it comes down to, if you know that you don't have 2 hours in your day to go for a run, don't wake up in the morning time and set that goal of, I need to get like a 12-mile run in. You know what I mean? Set goals that are achievable, because all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. And when you set yourself up for failure, it's not a good feeling, and it just keeps rolling over and rolling over. And little by little, again, it just turns into you not even focusing on that goal anymore, because you just feel like you're failing it. Again, you've got to set things that are achievable too. You've got to have realistic goals, and they can't really be conflicting goals either. So again, like a big thing is, you said your family's first, work second, and then the Spartan races.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that those goals fall in line. You can't like say, I need to go run 12 miles a day, but then I can't get my kid to school. But then I got to try to find a way to get my kid to school, because then you're literally setting conflicting. You won't even get your kid to school on time, or you're not going to get the run in. So the more you try to conflict what your priorities are, the harder it is to achieve that goal as well. So it's important to set goals that you can achieve, that aren't conflicting goals, and that things that you can literally wake up every morning and say, I can get this done today. Unless I go to the hospital, the odds are that, or something really major happens that I can't get done, the odds are that I'll be able to achieve this goal. Because that's how you become successful long term, is being able to achieve these daily goals. But it doesn't even have to be a daily goal. You can set yourself up and say, like you said, you want to get a certain amount of miles in for the week, 30 miles. So you have an entire week to get those 30 miles in. So if you didn't get them all in today, or you got more in the next day, that's just the person that you are. You know what I mean? So you're a person that can have a loosely set task, priorities for an entire week, where somebody literally needs to have a goal set every single day to make sure that they stay on point with what they're trying to accomplish. Because if you give them that little 2-day rest or period to think about it, they'll just tail completely off.
I think your point about creating small, achievable goals first is huge too, because it's a huge confidence builder. Anybody who's trying to get fit or trying to get healthy, I think the biggest mistake is we set goals for ourselves that are too high, they're unattainable.
Yeah.
You go from eating crap to saying, all right, I'm gonna just all of a sudden one day not eat gluten anymore, or I'm gonna go paleo all of a sudden all in one day. That doesn't
You're setting
work.
yourself up
It's
for
not
failure.
sustainable.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go to the gym 5 times this week when you haven't gone once in the last month.
Yep.
Start with something that you, like you said, you can accomplish, something that, because when you do that, when you're successful with that one smaller goal, that leads you to feel good about it. I first approached the Spartan races just like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it one time and see if I can do it. And the success I had with it has led me to do it, 6 more times. That wasn't my intention going into it. But again, when you set a goal and you accomplish it, it feels good. And that leads you to then progress forward. So starting with something that's manageable and achievable, you get that confidence under you, and then you can start building these higher, loftier goals. but starting with something achievable is huge.
It's like you had mentioned. I mean, you're not going to sit there and say, I've been eating sugar and shit every single day, I'm going to completely change my eating habits. No, why don't you change one meal today? And then maybe add, maybe take out a little bit of this here, add maybe another healthy meal in, so now you're eating 2 healthy meals out of the day. So you go from eating 0% healthy to maybe 20% healthy, and then 30%, and then little by little. Same thing with working out. Get up in the morning time and do like 10 air squats, 10 push-ups, and 10 sit-ups if you've never worked out before. Don't sit there and be like, I'm joining a gym today. I haven't worked out in a year and a half, and I'm going every single day. One, you're going to be sore. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to be tired. It's not going to be easy, and you're just going to wind up quitting. You have to set things that are achievable. You have to know where you are, who you are, what you're able to achieve, evaluate that stuff, and set that goal. And then watch little by little, it grows. I always talk about the process of everything. Everything is a process. You have to believe in the process, but you are the person that sets that process. So you have to know the type of person that you are. Because if you try to set something that's so non-achievable for yourself, for your personality or who you are, you're just going to fail again. So when I work with people, it's always like, okay, who are you? And this is what I love about the fitness industry. Everybody's different. Nobody's the same. Nobody has the same resting metabolic rate. Nobody burns calories the same. Nobody, everybody's different. Body composition and body structures are different. So you're working with each individual. So you have to get them to understand that even your mindsets are different. So you have to, and me diving into the mindset aspect of fitness all the time now, it's like I have to kind of be like, okay, it's great that you follow this person on internet and in the way he goes about doing his business, but that isn't you. So we need to figure out how we can get these, you to be successful with the type of person you are. You might be following someone with a type B personality and you're type A. So how the hell are you going to do how they do things if you're the complete opposite of them? So we need to find your strengths, use what you have, and what you're good at to set the right goals for you and be successful. And you can all have the same types of goals. You can do a Spartan race too. If you're a different person than him, you could still get to that end result. It's just about how to get to that result is going to be a little bit different. So it's all about understanding like how you can get to that goal and how Christian can get to that goal, or how I can get to that goal. Again, the end result could be the same goal, but there's going to be different ways to achieve that goal and to get there. And that's why it's important to understand who you are and the type of person that you are, and to try to look at people all the time out there who are successful and say, I'm just going to follow them. Here's a big thing. Like people look at like Gary Vaynerchuk, who he is, right?
Yep.
It's a big thing in the entrepreneurial world. And he's very good at talking and telling people like, this is how I've done it. But you're not him. So if you're not someone that likes to get up at 5 a.m. and you're not going to be successful getting the workload in that he can get in at 5 a.m., like it doesn't mean you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur. It just means if you try to do it his way, you're going to fail. Because that's not your way. And that's the way goals are set up. It's like you have to figure out what's your way of doing things and working within your own personal capacity and your individual personality. Because again, if you don't, you're gonna set yourself up for failure.
No, and that's so huge. I mean, that's part of what that's another part of what I try and teach my fourth graders is,
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I love how we're bringing this back to young kids because this is where it starts.
Isn't that how everything kind of works? Like, don't you notice that in fitness too, that you always want to bring things back to kids when you look at, when you look at kids from like their physical structure and the things that they do, that's how we were meant to move. And we don't move that way anymore. But when you're trying to teach technique and you're looking at the way that kids move, I feel like you're always kind of trying to go back to that.
I think that literally as I talk to you and I've learned more about you, because I just met Christian today personally. I've talked to him quite a few times, on the phone, on the internet, and but the more I learn, I mean, I would love. This is something that needs to get out into schools more. I think that there's not enough teaching kids about goal setting and how to become successful. It's more about, okay, we have to follow the curriculum and this is what we're going to do. I think that it needs to be more of like helping kids develop a more strong and positive mindset. It's something that has been taken out of schools. There's not a lot of discipline anymore in schools. You had talked about before, like you make your own decisions, but you have to understand
that there's consequences. Everything you do in life is a choice.
Yeah.
Nobody can force you to do anything. There are rules that are set up to guide us, but it's your choice as to whether you follow them or not. The easiest example is the speed limit. It's there for us, but how many of us actually follow it to the T? So it's your choice, but you have to be willing to deal with whatever the consequence is for your actions.
And I think that schools today, and I mean, it's mostly parents that have probably created this through different lawsuits and all stupid things, but I don't think it's taught enough that there's consequences anymore for actions. Everything's kind of like trying to sugarcoat things and not make people feel bad. I think it needs. I think if you want to see a stronger society today, and I see it with adults now, people that went through, and you know what, people can get mad at me or whether, pissed at me for saying it, but it's a softer society today. Kids that are in their 20s today are not as hard as people I know who are in their 40s and 50s. We've created a softer society. I think one of the most important things for our society is to understand, like, we have to try to harden up these kids a little bit more, or it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. And they're not only going to see, they're going to see the health rate is going to go down. I think, the health, the obesity rate is going to go up, healthcare and everything's going to go up because people aren't going to be able to take care of themselves because they don't even know that there's consequences in anything anymore. So I'm bringing it back to fitness. If they don't think there's consequences in anything, they're not going to think that there's any consequences on how they treat their bodies. We only have one body. It's the only thing that you can take care of to try to prolong what you can do on this earth and how long you're here. You have to take care of it. You can't. There's no other body. It's yours. And I think that kids today, and that's why you see the obesity rate so high. I don't think that they have any kind of consequences whatsoever. So they don't even realize to think that they're making poor choices, like you said, and they're eating or not working out or doing anything, just sitting around playing video games all day. They literally, it doesn't even sit in the back of their mind that they're making poor choices because there's no consequence. I'd love to see teaching get back to like getting these kids to understand, like, they have choices and there's consequences. And I guarantee if we can get back to that, you'll start to see society change up a little bit more.
So there's two things that I kind of going back to one of, like, what I try and teach my fourth graders, back to your point of the way that people go about achieving their goals is different for each person.
Yep.
We do try and teach that with, we come from the day and age where you did math one way.
Yeah.
And that was just the way that you did it. And that's how you were told. You stack the numbers, you add them up, you carry the one. That's not how we teach math anymore. There are a lot of different strategies, and each student is going to use different strategies. Different strategies are going to be right for different people, and that's totally fine. There's not one way to solve a problem. There's many ways to solve a problem, and we focus on trying to help students find the most efficient strategy for them to solve that problem. And I think that applies to life too. But then going back to what you were kind of saying about parenting, education, all that stuff, I think the best piece of advice the thing I tell myself all the time, the thing that my wife tells herself all the time, and the thing that I try and tell other parents too is, your kids watch you all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. They watch everything that you do. They hear everything that you say. And if you want your kids to do something, if there's something you want your kids to pursue, they have to see you doing it too.
Yep.
They have to, like, you can't ask a kid to read and tell a kid how important reading is if they never see you read. You can't tell a kid to eat vegetables and tell them how important vegetables are if you don't eat vegetables. You can't tell a kid how important it is to work out and to do some type of physical activity every day if you don't do that and they don't see you doing that. They watch you, and each parent is their child's superhero. Yeah. They look up to you no matter what. So it's on you to give them that role model that you want for them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you want your kid to do something, you gotta look at it that way, and as, okay, I have to do that too. And I think I like that because it makes me feel like I have to be a better me if I want my child to be the best
version of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I think that's important for everybody. And I think that's important, like we talked about before, even for adults. I mean, for me, like, being in the fitness industry, I can't grasp the concept of why people tell people how to do things, but yet they won't do them themselves. I mean, I just don't know how you can relate to somebody. That's why you'll always see me put myself through stuff first before I even ask people to do it. Because how am I going to relate to somebody if I tell them to go run through? for me personally, I hate to run. If people have been following me on social media, I avoid it at all costs. I mean, I'd rather hop on a rower or a bike and go for it. I don't like to run, but how am I supposed to tell somebody to go out for a run if I refuse to go running? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or have them eat a certain way if I refuse to eat that way. I mean, my clients, they need to see that I'm going through that as well. And I think that's one of the biggest gripes with the fitness industry. It's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fake people out there. And that's one thing I care about, me personally, is people know that, like, this is their shit that I go through every day. Is I'm not ever going to ask you to do something if I don't understand what the process is to get there. So, I mean, talk to me a little bit about, we talked about, where you're at with the Spartan Races, how you got there, goal setting. Talk about, I know we don't want to get into it too much because it's kind of like not a private thing, but working with kids going into like special operations.
So that's something I just got into recently. Actually really cool. A retired Marine who helps kids prepare for potentially going into special forces. And it's, he works with them physically, but he also does a lot of what he does physically works that mental piece of just being able to accomplish things that upon first sight you might not think that you would be able to accomplish, and building that mindset, that confidence of no matter what the task is, I can get it done. And honestly, I think that kind of my interest in that and doing that kind of work comes from exactly what we were just talking about, which is it's easy as a parent to come in at the end of the day and be exhausted and be tired and be like, you know what? I had a long day. I've done all these things. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm just shot. And just kind of not really being fully present for your kid or for your wife or your family. And that just, to me, isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
So a lot of why I approach these challenges and do these challenges is because I want to have the energy and to be present at all times. And so in order to do that, you have to push yourself so that, when you've had a bad day and you've been working really hard, you can still walk in that door with a smile on your face and be a parent, be a husband, be a father, do all those things. So that's kind of how, I guess, somebody who has no military background has kind of found myself reading all these books.
Yeah,
that's all I read about.
We talked about that before, and I think that's a big thing too. You find out about you read books on Navy SEALs and stuff. The most successful guys that become Navy SEALs aren't the best athlete. It's the guy who's set up mentally, stronger than everybody else in there. He's never the best athlete. I mean, I read a book where the guy was in one of the worst shape he could possibly be in, the red line, red circle. Sorry, and he wound up like being one of the best snipers in the world. But when he went in he was terrible. He couldn't even do like push-ups or run. He was like out of shape, and like literally guys blowing him out of the water. And he wound up being a Navy SEAL. These other guys wound up quitting. He was just more mentally tough than these guys, and set up. When you read his book, he talks about breaking down every day, especially in Hell Week, because it's such a tough time, is they break everything down in their minds, segmented down to very small. I can accomplish this next 20 minutes. I just have to get through another 10 minutes. Instead of just saying, I got 3 or 4 days left of this shit, I can't make it. So literally, it's like, get to the next step. And for me, running, that's what I would do. Like, I would run outside. I'd look at a telephone pole, just get to the next telephone pole. And this is me telling myself this, getting to these small. So if I'm running 3 miles, I must pass like 20, 30 telephone poles that I'm running to. But in my mind, all I'm doing is get to the next telephone pole and you'll be okay. You can make it to the next the telephone pole and break it down even smaller than what the big task is.
Yeah, but you're finding those smaller accomplishments within the larger goal. So you're motivating yourself to keep going by being successful just at a smaller rate.
Yeah, I mean, once you're successful at anything, like every time I got to that next level, I'm like, oh, great, I feel good. I made it to that one. Let's get to another one. And, dopamine's released in your brain. We can go into like the chemical response and everything that happens when you're successful, but that's just what happens. You have a chemical response in your brain. It makes you feel really good every time you're successful with things. And it happens to everybody. Anytime you're successful, your brain has a chemical response and you feel amazing. So it's important throughout your day to give yourselves a little challenge and achieve these little things. It could literally be anything. If you give yourself a task and you complete it, you're going to feel good about completing that task. It doesn't matter what it is. It's been scientifically proven and studied. It's a big thing in psychology. It's just the way your mind works. So it's always, if you want to feel good throughout the day, always set these small little goals for yourself, and watch what happens to you every single day. Like I set a challenge up for the gym, which is get up every morning and there's 3 levels. Do either 50 push-ups, 100 push-ups, or 200 push-ups every single day for 30 days. I want you to film yourself day 1, film yourself day 2 talking about it, and film yourself day 3 talking about it. Sorry, day 1, day 15, and day 30. I guarantee when you watch day 1 how you approached it, talking about it on film, and how you approached it on day 30, it's going to be your attitude and everything's going to be completely different. Just talking about doing push-ups, because that's what it does to you. You just feel so good every time you accomplish something. So again, I think that's another big thing that I like seeing you doing with young kids and trying to develop that in your programs with, in school.
There's a former SEAL who actually his thing is just wake up in the morning and make your bed.
He was I believe, he was a commencement speaker.
Yep. But he also then, from that commencement speech, I believe he ended up writing a book about just things that he learned in his time about being successful. And that was his thing, was wake up in the morning, make your bed. You've now achieved one goal for the day, and you've started off your day being successful with that one task.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about you guys can't see him. He's behind the camera, but he talks about this a lot with me. Like, when he gets up and goes and gets his workout in, I mean, he got up this morning at 4 a.m. just because we had to travel all the way out to, an hour and a half from where we're from, or where he's from. But he had to get up at 4 a.m. just to get his one thing in that he loves to do every day to make him feel like he's got his day going and relieve all his stress. And he got to work on it. He got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get this done. We're going to be traveling all day today. You know what I mean? He didn't have to get up. Most people would just be like, fuck it, I'll just train tomorrow. But for him, that's his small task that he likes to get done every single day to clear his mind and get him ready for the day. Is he was willing to get up 2 hours earlier than he normally gets up to go work out so that he can get the rest of his day on. I mean, that's a huge thing too. Is like, set yourself up. Like, the first thing I try to do every day is try to do something successful. A big thing I like to tell people to do is, because everything that we talked about, like everything that enters your subconscious, you believe. Like, look, literally, you're going to get up, probably go to the bathroom. So most people do. There's a mirror in your bathroom. Look in the mirror and say something positive to yourself. The first thing you're going to do, and the first thing you hear in the morning time, is something positive that enters your mind. And watch what happens every single day that you start to do that, and how much easier it is to get up and start moving throughout your day. So even you don't even have to do a workout or do literally set that as a goal for yourself. Is wake up, and as soon as you're done taking a piss, look in the mirror and be like, I can't wait to go to work today. Start taking the I don'ts, I can't, I won't, and start changing the I can, I will, I'm going to. And I'm telling you what, you do that to yourself every day. Say it out loud. It sounds stupid as hell, but to be honest with you, the people that are very successful do this. Tell yourself the first thing you hear every day is something positive, and watch what happens to you mentally within the next a few days by telling yourself the first thing every day is like, I want to do something, and be positive.
I think that's huge too. And it's a little, like, going a little deeper than that too. It's one of the questions that I've heard a lot is, what's your why? So what's your reason for doing it? You've got to give yourself a greater purpose. It should be something bigger. So take your time and craft some type of personal mantra for yourself that's meaningful. Because for me, what I say to myself, again, back to that whole, everybody does things differently, everybody's coming from a different place. What I say to myself in the morning isn't necessarily going to motivate you to get up and do things in the morning. So take that time to figure out what's important to you, why is it important, and then come up with your own personal mantra that you can look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, this is why I'm doing this, and I am going to do this, and this is why. And that it makes a huge difference. It's when things get tough, at least for me, I just go back to my family. I think about my family, and that it brings you to kind of like a happy place. And that's one of the things, is taking your mind away from things that are uncomfortable, taking your mind to a place of happiness, or just being comfortable while you're uncomfortable, can help you to completely change that mindset. It's really easy when you're not feeling well, when something's hurting, when you're doing, when you're on your 99th burpee, to feel like crap. But if you can get that thought of how you feel out of your head and get something positive into your head, it's amazing how much further you can go when you divert your mind away from the negative to something positive.
You hit on so many points that I like try to preach to a lot of people without me even like talking to you about this before. Deflecting negative thoughts. I think I put this in my. I did a vlog, and I think I may not have actually posted the vlog yet, but that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Trying to find like I said, it's easy. These negative thoughts are going to enter your mind when you don't like doing something. Like for me, like I said, I don't like to talk about myself as far in these podcasts. I like to talk about like the person that I'm interviewing. But for me, like when I was going through that 30-day challenge, like I didn't like running at all. Like I think every step was like a negative thought almost, but it's literally as I'm doing it, you have to learn how to deflect that negative mindset, those negative thoughts, and switch them over to something that makes you happy so that it makes it tolerable to go through. Like you said, getting comfortable when you're uncomfortable. Like I would think about so many different things, my family, with my kids running around as I'm running. And I'm, like I said, because the negative thoughts are entering my mind. I'm human. I'm like everybody else. When shit gets hard, you start to think negatively. So it's important to start learning how to deflect negative thoughts and make them positive so that you can enjoy the experience a little bit more, even though it's a painful experience.
And every once in a while, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely find myself sometimes taking negative thoughts and using those to motivate me too. Like, I don't want to have to walk in my house and say that I failed at this thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't want that. Like, I know that that's not what I want. So, not harping on the negative, but using that negative to kind of drive, like, okay, here's the choice I have. I can stop right now because I'm uncomfortable, or I can keep going. But if I stop right now, I have to look myself in the mirror and understand that I quit. I have to, like, that's an example that I'm setting for other people that I quit. And that to me is huge too. It's just knowing that things are a lot, most of the time, things aren't just about you. They're also about the people around you as well. So, yeah,
I mean, we're going to leave off with that. Again, when we talk about health and wellness and fitness, remember that it's not always going to, especially if you're a family person, it's not just about you. Like, your kids want you around for a very long time. The people around you who care about you want you around. So it's important to take care of yourself, because sometimes the goal is even bigger than you. You should want to be around for your kids. You should want to be around for your family. You should want to live as long as you possibly can to help other people around you. Hopefully, your goal in life, I think everybody's goal in life should be able to inspire other people around them. If that's not your goal in life, then sorry. It's just a terrible way to be. But you should want to try to inspire other people around you. I think that should be the ultimate goal in life. Whether it's family, friends, people around you, make them better each day. So it's important to stay healthy, and set goals for yourself, and be positive, and just keep chipping away and grinding, and enjoy the process. Life is a process. Every single day you have to get up. You're going to go to work no matter what. So you might as well start telling yourself you love it, because every time that you tell yourself you don't want to do something, you won't. And if you tell yourself you want to do something, you're going to do it, you will. It's just the way it is. So again, Christian,
yeah,
thank you, man.
Thank you.
Tell you what, for someone I've never known before, I had a really awesome conversation.
Yeah, this is fun.
I'm pretty excited that you wanted to come onto the show. Hopefully the viewers, I learned a lot from some things that you said. Hopefully my viewers learned a bunch, but hopefully I can get you on the show again. Because it was awesome.
Anytime.
So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for checking in or watching this episode of The Mind Gym, and get you going next week. Later.